But thank you very much for coming in the cold weather.
I didn't fight us.
We have couple of additions to the venue for this evening. So one would be sign adjusted town road and bridge standards, and the other would be new certificate of compliance for town and road bridge. Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
And if everybody's good, I think we should do that under highway.
Yeah. So it was, who seconded it?
I don't know.
George.
Was George made the motion.
George made the motion,
I made it.
or somebody did.
What?
I'll second it.
I second, Cash made it.
Okay.
All right.
Like, God will get it
All right,
straight.
so
Boy,
all
we're
those
off
in
and running well here.
Yeah, all those in favor, we'll have that under highway.
Okay.
And all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, approval of last meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
George has it right here.
I don't think there's any changes, so I'll be so brave as to say let's approve them as they're presented.
All right, is there a second?
Yep. Second.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good to go. Road Commissioners report.
Kim and I went to a meeting with emergency meeting with Rutland Planning Commission. Met with other towns just to brainstorm and stuff like that. And Kim, if you'd like to fill in a little bit too.
Yes, it was a Southeast Sub-Region discussion hosted by Rutland Regional Planning Committee. It was an exercise with our neighboring towns to evaluate how our partnerships can support one another in a disaster. And we've talked with Matt Jacobowski, who could not attend the meeting, but he did give me some insight on some of the things we talked about. Our key takeaways were we need generators at our shelter locations and our EOC, which is this town hall as Emergency Operations Center. And our shelter location is the community center or the Grange.
Yep.
But Matt said that if grants are available to buy the generators, he's all for it. But especially as far as the Grange is with the elevator, it's very costly to get one for it. It takes a 3-phase power system. The Rutland Hospital's named as our secondary shelter area, but that was done in error this year. It's supposed to be the Clarendon Elementary School. There's no generator there, and I guess logistics in the past of who should buy it and maintain it never really was settled upon. We decided we'd like to look to Tinmouth for aid in a disaster for our Chip and Hook residents if they can't make it down the hill to any of our shelters or for supplies. We thought we could look to the Civil Air Patrol at the airport as a possible resource, but Matt has informed me they weren't really receptive in some ways and have a fire safety issue with their building that they haven't come to code on. And lastly, we discussed ahead of a storm that perhaps the road crew who all have to travel in from out of town could be called in early and maybe even housed at the road commissioner's home. This is in advance of a major disaster.
Sounds like it was a good discussion.
It was
and
good, and
discussion.
one more thing that, we need to get better at communicating with our surrounding towns. And it was discussed, of course, about equipment sharing. And I know Clarendon has been against that, but in discussion, we just kind of felt maybe it could be reconsidered if we only did it with our surrounding towns or made sure we had an operator that went with our equipment. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I think we would be more open if we're sending the operator. I think
Yeah,
that would, but I just would be cautious to sign on to the stance has always been to be cautious to sign on to something that's gonna mandate that one of our pieces of equipment
Well,
basically can get pulled from us.
It would not be a mandate that way. It'd be kind of the volunteer thing.
Yep.
Discussion with the select board to let them know. You can go from there.
We had this
Depends on
conversation,
the issue.
we had this conversation before.
Is there still a generator at the Millward High School?
I don't know.
There is, but she hadn't run in years.
Well, that's
Really?
why
Lots.
I was just saying it makes more sense. There's one there.
I mean, I think we should keep our eyes open and see if something was to come across for the Grange. I mean, I think it would be a wise investment. I think that it would make sense if necessary that we would have at least the ability to run that building.
I think, I agree with you
If
on
the
that.
elevator
I
doesn't
also
work
think
well.
that it makes sense a little bit for the town hall. For building this size, it isn't gonna take as much of a generator as it would for something with an elevator, for sure.
Well, and I can understand the three-phase needs, but I mean, you can buy three-phase generators.
Oh,
that-
yeah.
I mean, we're not talking totally out of this world.
No.
And quite frankly, you can pick up decent used ones even out there that could be put up there for a
Yep,
pretty
that's true.
reasonable price. So,
And if the elementary school ends up as a location for sure, or there again, if there's people there of any quantity, then being able to have lights and being able
Sure.
to, do whatever,
Sure.
again, that isn't gonna be a huge power consumption, I would
Yeah.
think.
Well, that's basically just the start of a conversation.
oh yeah, absolutely.
We wanna, I don't know, I would pass this along to Matt maybe, that we wanna try and get some information, what costs would be involved and stuff like that, is that,
I don't think I would put that in Matt's lap. I think that, I mean,
That'd
it
be-
certainly can be a conversation with the community center board, but I mean, I can tell you right now, because and George and I had a conversation about it. Right now, the electrical service in that building is
Yep.
hugely oversized.
Yep.
Because I
What have they
think
got in there?
I think that building's got 800 amps.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I,
Well, that's
I
probably
believe
just for that.
so. Yeah, if I remember right,
That's a lot of.
if I would have to look at it again. Does that ring a bell, George?
I think it was up there, yes.
I want to say we'd have to look, but I think it's an unbelievable amp service that's in that building. So, and the elevator doesn't take anywhere near that much. So,
They'll run that on a 20K three-phase.
I
yeah.
would think so.
that's why I'm saying I think the generator would not have to be sized to the electrical service that's there. So I think it's just a matter of doing some research, find out what it would really take to run the building, and keep our eyes open.
Yeah, you could run that building on 20K easy.
Oh yeah,
You run whole
I would think
houses
so.
on 20
I would
Ks.
think so. Yeah. So anyway, I don't think there's anything to really put in Matt's lap on that. I think that probably it's
Source of electrician to start with.
yeah, it's an electrician type deal, and also it comes down to like everything budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be a budgeting item.
Yep.
Yeah, if you got an 800 amp service going in there, what's gonna be expensive is the transfer switch.
Yep.
Sure.
That's gonna be the biggest expense, cause you gotta match that with your service.
And I could be wrong, but I remember when we went in
I
there,
know
it
it's
is
pretty
some,
high.
That
it
seems
is
like
an,
an awful
it's an
lot.
obscene number that's in there.
400
Oh.
would be too much for that place.
It was at least 400.
do they still have anybody working from GMP? Back in the days, CV used to
All right,
have recommendations and stuff.
I don't think so.
So,
I probably agree with you.
Moving on.
Yep.
We talked about a storage tank, stainless, price and amount and stuff. And what about, because we would have to pour concrete and everything for a base, what about bringing in a milk truck trailer? They're all stainless. They hold about 5,000, 5,600 gallons.
like buying a retired one.
Yep.
Where the running gear's no good on it, right?
Right? Or even, I can put the feelers out there and see what.
Is that for your dust control?
Yep. Yep.
Can't do it.
Can't?
No, I did some research for you. That dust control will eat through stainless. They want it in a lined tank.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that till I
Like
did some checking.
plastic or
Cal
some-
chloride.
some kind of a light?
What's that?
What would the lighting be, plastic or?
Yeah, they want it lined either glass. If you could find one with glass interior, it'd work fine. But, I mean, that's why it's stored in plastic tanks.
Got it.
316 stainless will not hold it very long before it
Eat through it.
eats through it. I couldn't believe that. I've never seen anything eat through that.
Well, that's fairly, I mean, 400 series stainless might do it, but the 300 will dissolve almost sometimes
Right.
on whatever it is that's on it, you know, salt, you know, and if you're working with some welding with different fluxes, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting information to have.
My word for it, would you just go online, type it in, type in what you're using for, what is that? It's not calcium chloride, it's something else.
Yep.
It's mag chloride.
Mag chloride.
Mag chloride.
Type it in
Mag
there and ask what kind of tank can it be stored in, and it'll come right up and tell you that.
Yep.
Can you
I
get
wonder if
it?
there's something. I wonder if
Some-
there's something glass lined
Some
out
of
there.
the information that you
Put feelers
were
out.
looking up, can you
I doubt it.
get together with Cash and
That's pretty big.
Yeah, but you got a computer, just print it right off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just,
It's yeah. I was gonna say that's pretty simple to
Yeah.
look up.
yep. So, just for heads up, our salt bin, we still have approximately 160 ton of salt in the bin. We haven't got salt for over a month now. So,
I thought that was pretty good. You blended the salt and sand on my road, right?
a little bit, yeah.
And I thought
And we
that was
might
fine.
even do it this next storm coming tomorrow night.
Yeah, I don't see why that's not a bad idea.
And that's all I got for that. We want to talk about the bridge.
yeah, do you want to give us, do you want to report or
Well,
does,
you should have it right here.
yeah,
I don't know, do I have it in front of me here?
So the town and bridge standards are supposedly changing slightly, but I had Cash take a look at it, and it looks like it was something we were practicing anyways as far as the size of
This one right
culverts.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Do we all sign that?
And
Oh,
then
this is
once
here.
you all sign that, that's when you sign the certificate of compliance that we will comply with those new standards.
They're recommended for sizes of, for going across roads and stuff like that. Minimum of 18 inches. We've been doing that anyways. They've been, I thought that's been in the rules regulations.
For a
already,
long time.
For a long time.
anybody want to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and sign on to both the town road and bridge standards and sign the compliance document for the compliance.
Second.
All right, just add to that motion that we all have to.
We
sign.
all have to sign both. Yep.
Okay, and do you agree with that, Judy?
Yep.
All right, any further conversation on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All righty. And let me just do this real quick. You can fill the date in.
Yep.
Hey, George, you go this side.
Yep, got it.
Yes. All right, nothing else under highway. All right, approval of select board warrants. They're all right here. If anybody wants to check it out. Guess, Geery, would you wanna start going down the hill?
Well, thank you, Select Board, for semi-inviting me to come. So anyway, I'm Carol Geery. I am the current chair of the Mill River Unified Union School District School Board. And I asked if it would be okay if I came and just kind of reviewed what we've been up to a little bit, and also to kind of present some information on the upcoming budget vote. So I got lots of notes, so you know, I can go on for hours, but I won't. So we began last August preparing our budget for FY '27, so it was quite a long process. during that time, we held 2 open meetings for the public to come and talk to us about their budget priorities. We also had people come, we have a finance committee that meets, and we had people come to the finance committee, members of the public, to talk to us about their, budget priorities they wanted to see. And one of the things we heard, one of the big things we heard was regarding the condition of our fields at Mill River. We're in really poor condition, unsafe, actually. So one of the things that you're going to see on the budget is an item to work to improve the fields, particularly the football and the soccer fields and the baseball fields. So I had asked to come the night we had the big storm, and I thought I was going to come with great news for the town of Clarendon. That's who I represent on the board, in terms of how our taxes would be affected. But let me give you some numbers. The FY27 budget represents a 3.52% increase over FY26. It includes a health insurance increase, which we have no control over, and that was one of the biggest cost drivers in our budget. It's a 7.3% increase. And also, the other things that contribute, of course, are staff increases and inflation. Increases in staff salaries and inflation. So, we continued our elementary math intervention program, which are 2 folks who are helping improve our math scores, which has been an area of concern. And we added an English language learner position that's offset by revenue from the state, so that's kind of a wash. And this budget adds a pre-K first aid and CPR training, which we needed, and an additional part-time bus driver to support transportation. We do pretty well here. In Clarendon, our buses run, but we have a heck of a time. Anybody who wants to pick up any bus driving, we could use bus drivers. We could use substitute bus drivers. We could use bus drivers for activities, games, field trips. So if anybody's out there who's thinking they might want to, we pay for training for CDL if you don't have training. So that is a real need. And one of the other positions we're adding, as I mentioned, the concerns about the grounds and the fields, is a groundskeeper position at Mill River. Currently, we contract for all that, and we think we need someone in-house to maintain the condition of those.
You guys have the equipment to do that?
Huh?
You have the equipment?
Well, we're looking at that, yeah. That's gonna be part of the process of that position, is to figure that all out. And it's not gonna be like a full-time position. I really will have to get back to you on that. We have it in the budget, and so it could be, and it wouldn't just be for Mill River. It would be, we have 4 schools to take care of. So, yeah, but that's a new position.
Would that be a savings? Having a person on staff?
Well, it will be an improvement,
Would it be a savings or an expense?
a savings over,
You're contracting stuff to be taken care of.
yeah, lawn mowing and snow plowing. But
If you
this
had
is
someone on
for,
staff, would that be a savings, or would you have to buy equipment, like Mike said?
yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, will it be a savings? I can't answer that, quite honestly, until we know what the position is, because the job description hasn't even been, once the budget is hopefully approved, then we'll work on a job description and then determine. We have equipment, but not all the equipment that we would need. So that's why I can't really answer that. I'm not trying to avoid it. I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, but it's a good question. That question was asked actually at our building and grounds meeting this past week. So we are
Carol, do you
aware.
think that once you get more information on employee and equipment, would that be something you'd want to put out to the voters?
Well, it's in the budget.
It's already in the budget.
It's already in the budget. And, so that would
Sounds like
be,
you gotta pass it, then we read it. Where did we hear that before?
no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's a small amount of the budget. And would be part of the maintenance and the maintenance crew for the district. So, anyway, that actually, in terms of public input, was one of the big areas that the parents and the public that came to us talked about, was the conditions of the fields. That there is no one maintaining those fields, and they're not safe. And in fact,
What does it mean not safe?
well, the VS, Vermont Superintendent Association, I think, is who, they would not approve our field to play football. We played football at the MSJ field all last season.
Wasn't there work done on that though this past year with septic system and stuff like that?
Right, but even before that, the field was not in good
But
condition.
what makes it unsafe?
It's uneven, the rocks, there's not good turf on it, there's no water system, irrigation system. Also, I'm not the expert on this. There's our well is very close to that field, so you can't use a lot of fertilizer on it because it would contaminate the well water. It's a very complex situation. So what the school board decided is to try and have someone who could have the knowledge and the time to maintain that field and do other things.
Isn't the septic system underneath that field?
I don't think the septic is there.
I thought they would. They put it there.
That was under that.
It was a drainage, you mean what, the work they did this past year? That was
No.
That was all for the 3-acre rule, I believe.
Yeah, that
I
was
was
for
gonna say
the
that was for
runoff.
stormwater.
That was the stormwater,
Okay.
the stormwater.
But it's
so-
a
There
drainage
is
area.
septic there on the grounds there at the school.
Yeah, there's a septic, but, I don't think it's under the,
That's on the lower
Football
field though, right?
yeah, I'm not sure.
I
South
don't
of
remember where it
building.
was put in.
Hmm?
but
South of the building, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, is south of the building.
I guess the question would be, is it state mandated to have outdoor sports? Because if it isn't, we don't need a big band for it.
Well, I'm not here to, all I'll say is that I think quite a few people came to us and said that was a concern. So, and we have those meetings, so if you have, input, we'd love to have it during those meetings. And that's before the budget is, developed and approved. So we had all those meetings in like September, October, November. Let's see, what else can I tell you? So, anyway, based on that, on the budget that was passed, we had first estimated that for the town of Clarendon, our taxes would actually decrease by a very teeny percentage. And then the state CLA numbers came out, the common level of appraisal. And our common level of appraisal, which we based our estimates on, was 68%. And when it came out with the new statewide adjustment, it went down to 61.89%, which means that our tax rate is going to increase by 8%. It's going to go up around 8%. And so, even though our budget is only increasing 3.52% because of the way the state funding works, which I am not going to try and explain because I don't get it, our tax rate is going to go up 8%.
Which
Now-
translates into that we'll get less money from the state or that we're helping somebody else.
Well, I think it's not a final number, so that's important to know. That the governor's talking about, putting some money into the budget to lower the tax rate for everybody. But the CLA decreasing that much, apparently there's a appeal option that the town, and this is my ask, because I checked with Heidi, and I guess the listers are the ones who work with the state on the CLA. And apparently there's an appeal process that the listers can do, or the town clerk, I'm not sure who would do that, to modify that CLA rate. Basically, you would appeal it and say that it doesn't make any sense. So Gail Fowler did it for Tinmouth. So I don't know who you would designate as your representative.
Do we know what kind of results they had when they?
They did. They got their CLA changed. Adjusted, yes. Not a huge amount, but we went from 68 to 61. That's a 7%.
I guess my fear too, though, is can you appeal it and then have them come back and it goes to 70?
Well, if it went to 70,
Or I
we'd
mean,
be in good shape.
but I mean the opposite way. What if
Yeah.
you appeal and it goes to 58?
50.
I mean,
I can explain a little bit. The CLA,
Oh, there you are.
the CLA represents actual sale prices of what are deemed valid sales. And I'll come back to that. Versus the appraised values. Our appraised values are from 2019, before the pandemic. The normal in the CLA is a running 3-year average of those valid sales. It's just not what happens in any one year, because you can have up or down spikes. And excluded from the numbers are the invalid sales. Any family transactions, of which there are many, any abutter transaction, someone buys the property next door, even if they're paying what seems to be full price for the property, it just
thrown
gets
out.
excluded.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
deemed not valid because it's an abutter.
Okay.
It's supposed to be valid. You're supposed to be an arm's length transaction, and so assume if you're buying property next door, it may or may not be. Or if a property is being split, you're just selling part of it. Well, that doesn't count either.
I was gonna say that throws out like
Yeah.
a huge amount.
It does. Bankruptcies, foreclosures, auctions, they don't count. And as we process, transactions, we have to make a determination, is it a valid sale or invalid? And because I've been doing it for a full 12 years at this point, in years past, we all have every town has district advisors. We're very fortunate. Our district advisor is the one who runs the show for the whole state. All the other district advisors report to her.
Okay.
So she's really good at what she does. In years past, and it's been several years since she has questioned any of our designations. In years past, she'll come here and she'll say, tell me about this one or that one. And there have been times where they went out and got their own information. They send a letter asking questions of it. We haven't had anything questioned for several years, now along the way. So if we were to challenge, we'd be sort of challenging our own input. The state hasn't overruled us. If they have overruled us, they've never told us, then that's not Christie's, style. She's.
Is it possible to ask some questions with regard to this Tinmouth situation and just see if there's a calculation error?
Yeah, I could ask Christie, about that and see what she has to say. And again, we have a good relationship with her, and
Yeah.
worked a long time. But the state has not challenge the designations we've made. And you're right, many of them
Sure.
don't count.
I'm just thinking like, and not to go down the rabbit hole on this, but I'm just thinking that means like the vast majority of the development on Bump Road, for example, is not eligible. The vast majority of the development that we've seen
Well,
of
the
that, the
subdivision
village is
No,
not.
the subdivision of those lots wouldn't have been because that was
That's what I'm saying.
a
It's not
parcel.
eligible.
But when they brought the, if they brought in, their units that they're living in,
Yeah,
again, there wasn't a transaction, but if they were to sell any of those, that would count.
correct. But I'm saying the fact that we've had that happen hasn't gone into this is what I'm saying,
Right.
right? Because those, and I mean, I can think off the top of my head, 8
Oh yeah,
built
we've had a
eight-
number
eight
of those, yeah.
that have happened
And that was
probably in the
just
last
someone,
3 years.
splitting off their land.
Yeah, and it
It's
really
not-
doesn't do us any
The reason
benefit.
it's not valid is there's nothing to compare it to.
Correct.
Because they're comparing the sale price versus the grand list value.
Sure.
And prior to splitting it off, there was no grand list value for that parcel. The
So-
acre that gets split off. There's no comparatives. That's why it's excluded.
On the flip side, does it do anything to the CLA when the next grand list is lodged and that homeowner's property went down in that value that they sold off?
No,
It doesn't do anything for this at all.
no. It's
Okay.
based on sales.
I was just curious.
And the
So-
reality is, from the 2019 reappraisal, the first year, the sales were a smidgen higher, smidgen lower. We were off like 1%
before everything went bananas.
before everything went crazy.
Yeah.
And currently, virtually every valid sale that comes through is at least 50% higher than the appraised
Our
value.
appraisal.
And quite often, it's 100% higher. And
Which is why we're up against reappraisal.
numerous
Yeah.
times it's more than 100% more than that 2019 value.
Yeah.
And as I keep saying we're not shocked anymore, but they still come through and shock us. Some of them,
Sure.
like, you're kidding, it sold for that much.
Sure.
And that's why we begin this summer another reappraisal, and
We start
Yeah.
doing another.
it's a 2-year
reappraisal.
process though.
I guess to chime in, it would be interesting to find out how Timoth negotiated the whole process. Do they have listers that have the same ability in terms of accuracy that you do?
I don't know
They
what they're
were
doing
very-
in the.
Well, that's one of the things I was wondering. I didn't know the town until she mentioned Timoth. I mean, there's a number of towns we know of who voted out their lister boards and gone to full-time assessors, and they may be appealing what the assessors have done, not their lister board, because there's no lister board anymore.
Yep.
So, I mean, Wallingford's a town, they don't have listers, they have an assessor, which is a, private entity.
But either way, it certainly doesn't hurt to ask some
Yeah, I
questions.
can ask a
Ask
couple
some
questions
questions
of, Christie. Well, all I know is the sale prices are in nosebleed territory compared to the valuations from 2019.
Yeah, we had the biggest drop in CLA of the 4 towns. But
Yeah.
Tinmouth 2 years ago had a huge, they had
And you have to remember that CLA is based upon
the state, isn't it?
is based upon the average of the last 3 years ending March 30th. So when you got that was
So March 30th of 25.
of 25
Okay.
of going, so you got 22, 23, and 23,
those are
When it was going
24.
crazy.
It's going
Yeah.
crazy. And then, of course, we just got the new one, and that ended April 1st of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why our CLA early on, when everything went crazy, was just changing a little bit. We were pleasantly surprised, it only went down that much. But now you got the full board. It's been as crazy as it is now. It's been that crazy for several years, and it's all in there.
Well, I don't think whether it's you guys or even I would be fine if it was Kim or somebody could ask
Yeah.
Gail some questions up there. Reach out to Gail and just see what they went through.
Yeah, and I might be mistaken about that, but that's what
No,
I was
that's, I mean,
told.
we could we could probably reach out to Christie and ask about Timoth.
Yep, and just see what the
their
story was.
issues were,
Yeah.
and see if it's.
Yeah, I'm
you
sure
know,
she represents that town
That's it
too.
too.
Because Christy lives locally, and so that's why we're part of her retention.
All right. So, yeah, so, there's gonna be two, items on the, ballot. One is for approval of the budget, and I hope everyone gets out and votes. And the second is going to be to use, surplus to, do some big projects. In the past, we've asked for about 300,000 to be used out of the surplus to, to do, to the building sinking fund, which we've used, and I don't have the details of what it got used for, but it's used throughout the district. And if any of you go down the elementary school, you've noticed that we paved the parking lot there. That was part of that building sinking fund. But this year, we're looking to transfer $1 million of the surplus.
Put that on the budget.
Pardon?
Put that in your budget.
Well, I'm gonna try and explain why this is a better way to do it. But just so you know, that is gonna be used for the athletic field work, which I just talked about, and also paving the Mill River and Wallingford parking lots, which are big projects. If we put it in our budget, then your budget goes up and your taxes go up. You have to pay for it, or you do a bond or something. It also has a time limit, whereas if it's in your budget, you have to spend it by June 30th of the year.
Is that a large amount, that $1 million, larger than normal?
Yeah, we usually do about 300,000. But we also have a surplus that we want to use. We use part of it to reduce taxes, and that's part of the budget that you got. But we've been using it to put into the building sinking fund, so we don't have to put that in the budget and raise taxes. So it's like, if you put it in the budget, then you have to raise taxes. But if you use the surplus, then you don't have that time limit, because it's, to like contract for paving, well, Cash probably knows, you have to plan way out. And if you don't get it done in the fiscal year, you can't spend that money. That makes sense? I'm not very good at explaining it.
I don't know, it's $1 million, your budget's what, like 22?
22 million.
So that's 1/22 of your budget, which is about 5-6%. Right?
Yeah. If you say so.
And you're talking about increasing it 3%?
3%.
Something doesn't add up there to me, but I'm just, we're not here to talk about, you're just presenting stuff to us.
I'm just presenting, and I can get specific information. The business manager is the one. If you have any questions, Stan, if you call Stan at the central office, he can explain a lot of that.
Do you know, Carol, how much is in your sinking fund at this point?
We currently have, I think, around 300,000 balance. But that is, yeah, it's about 300,000.
So you're saying you're going to use that 300,000 plus the rest of it's coming from the surplus this year, is what you're saying.
Right. We're going to add to that. The 300,000 is if we have any kind of emergency situation, it can go like that. We've been pretty lucky this year that our heating system has been working, our water system's been working, particularly at Mill River, but even at the elementary schools. So, that fund has been used. We're going to have, the gym floor is going to be replaced. It's 50 years old. We're having our 50th anniversary, the building in Mill River. Pardon?
Is there something wrong with it?
It can't be refinished anymore. It's a wood floor, they refinish it.
They've sanded it out.
Yeah, it's sanded it too many times, so it has to be replaced. It's 50 years old. The parking lot is 25 years old. I don't think Wallingford's been done in even longer than that. So, and I'm one of the kind of things that we've been thinking about is the fact, you know, in the back of our mind is this whole consolidation, this state consolidation. And, you know, we don't want our schools to close. We want to keep our schools that we have because they're important to our towns. And when they start, who knows in the future, you know, what's going to come of this whole consolidation thing. But we really do want to maintain our buildings. You know, those are, you know, important assets to the town. And so
Wallingford, Shrewsbury.
Tidmouth and Clarendon and the Mill River School. Yeah, so we've got 5 buildings that we're trying to maintain and keep in good condition. Mainly for the asset, but also for the benefit of the students that go there. I mean, it's important to
There are
them.
population to the smaller schools that are in the smaller towns. Is there an expanding population, or is it
It's
increasing?
pretty, it's, well, we've had a small decrease overall, district-wide. But we have increased our number of tuition students. We have an increase of, at the high school, we have an increase of Mount Holly students who are choosing to attend Mill River. So we've had a good increase in that.
How does Mount Holly send money here at all, or is it
They
just
pay tuition for those
tuition,
kids.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's middle school, high school. Yep, they pay a tuition per kid. So that's, we've had an increase, you know, for a while, for a while, I say that, like when, you know, 30 years ago, you know, Mill River was the school that attracted a lot of tuition students, but, you know, the student population has decreased everywhere, and so that has gone down. So we feel pretty fortunate that Mount Holly families are choosing Mill River for their kids, and that's been helpful to us in terms of our budgeting.
I had a little something to add to that. You got more to go?
Well, only if you guys have any more questions, or you,
Yeah, I have one question. If I took the total budget that's gonna be voted on, total amount of money, and if I divided it by the number of students, what kind of a number would I end up with?
oh, we do have I don't know if I have that per pupil.
Well, the per pupil cost is a lot lower than what the actual expenditure is because you're talking about the cost of education versus the total cost, I think. So what is your total cost of students right now? Because I haven't figured it out.
Total cost of the total budget, or
No,
per
your-
student, or
yeah.
per pupil?
Yeah, per pupil cost.
It's around, I wish I had the exact number, but I want to say it's around 15,000, which is right in it's right kind of the middle.
So if I took that number, multiplied it by the number of students that we have, then I would have the same thing as the total budget number.
Yeah, well, it seems like you would, but it doesn't work that way.
I'm sure it doesn't.
It's about half, isn't it?
I don't know exactly. I mean, that's why we have a business manager, but there's a lot of ADM, it's your average daily membership, and then there's all these categories. It's so
I'm
complex. You know, you are on the board. It's just so complex. It's, you know, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but, you know, the figure that we look at for our average per pupil spending is right in line with, and lower than the state average, and kind of in line with the surrounding districts.
Have you,
There is an issue that's a statewide issue, obviously, and that's why they're talking about this new legislation that they've been playing with and trying to help it. And the problem is, you know, I haven't heard of a recent year where anybody's budget went down in any significant number. So for obvious reasons, healthcare and a bunch of others, the budgets are continually increasing. Now, we have a population that are trying to support these budgets, where a good many of them obviously aren't getting a raise that would agree with the cost of living that they're being subjected to. So, my concern is these budgets continue to increase, those folks that are getting state assistance to pay their taxes, that amount is going to continue to increase. At some point, the whole issue is going to hit the wall, and people just can't do it, even if they're getting state assistance. So, this year, for the first time, I hope that you might understand that I've been a supporter of our system for a long time, but this year, I think it's important, for me anyways, to encourage everybody to vote no on the budget to send a message, because it can't continue, period. So, just thought I'd put that out there, and you can relay that message to your fellow board members. That I'm going to encourage anybody I talk to vote no.
Okay.
Cass, did you?
Yeah, I had just, you're talking about CDL for bus drivers and stuff like that. The state has a program. I don't know if you know about that at all. And we get it for like my road crew and stuff, that they can actually do upgrades or new CDL, any new hirees. So that's something to look into
Okay.
as a cost saving.
Yeah.
The other question I had, you mentioned about increase of staff percentages. Do you have an average of what the increase is?
Well,
staff
there wasn't
average?
the negotiation, what the increase was for this year. I think it was 6%, but it was part of a 3-year negotiation for the teachers. Yeah.
The staff.
Yeah. Well, there's different contracts. There's different groups that
6%.
negotiate. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hey, George, if you vote no, what message is that sending? I mean, what's going to change? They obviously keep the budget as low as possible. So,
Yep.
what do you expect them to do?
From the standpoint of if by chance the budget goes down, obviously they'll still run even if a budget never gets passed, because they'll be running at a percentage of the last budget passed. But to my mind is that if there's enough of this happening across the state, that maybe our legislatures will be a little bit more active in their work to find a solution. I mean, Bob and I have talked about this a lot in terms of the legislation that's going on now. At this point, it doesn't seem too hopeful, or has things changed that I'm not aware of, Bob?
Act 73.
Yes.
They're talking about some stuff, but it's early. Who knows what's actually going to come out of it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
one of the things that I've been really confused about is we were one of the first districts to consolidate as a district from the SU. You were part of that, right, George?
I certainly was.
You were on the board. And yet, our tax rate for the 4 towns differ significantly from one town to the other. Now, why is that? We're all in the same district. Supposedly, we're all consolidated. I had a hard time, and then I asked questions, and it has to do with our CLA.
Yep.
And the number of families that get the income sensitivity adjustments and like you were talking
Yep.
about, the help. So even though we're one district, the towns still operate individually in terms of tax rate. And unless they change that at the state level, where we pay, right, our tax rate helps pay for schools that have 5, 6, 8% increases in their budget. So no matter how low we keep our budget, we end up with an increase. It has nothing to do with us spending more money. It just has to do with the statewide system that we have for financing our schools, which I agree with you.
Which is what I'm concerned
It's
about.
not, but I'm not sure voting no. I mean, I can't come here and say, okay, yeah, I mean, obviously, we would like our budget to pass. Obviously, we feel like we did a really good job of developing a budget that will support the students and our kids in our town.
In
But-
no way am I criticizing any of the work that you've done. I'm just saying that it has to stop.
Right, but all I'm saying is even if our budget goes down, it's not gonna change, our budget going down is not going to change what's happening at the state level. All it's going to do is, well, is cause us to have to revote it again and again and again and borrow money, which means then we have to pay interest. So, you know, I'm not sure that's the way to go about it, but
Well,
you do
I'm open to
you.
any suggestion that's a better way to get some change, or I mean, some
Well,
progress.
we're hoping to have, last spring we had the legislators come to a meeting. You were there, Mike, I think. We had the legislators come and talk to the school board. And we're hoping to do that again this spring as soon as we get an idea of what they're gonna do. But right now, they're just drawing maps. That seems to be the big thing. They're drawing maps. And I don't know how that's helping, but.
Well, the whole issue is gonna be that they're gonna close buildings. There's very few ways of which to save money in the state on education. There's only 600,000 of us in the state supporting an incredible system. And the fact that the population in all of our schools has down from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, doesn't matter. There's still more staff showing up. And you just mentioned a couple just now. And that's hard for people
But
to understand.
we've decreased other staff. I didn't talk about, decreases in staff. But, considering 6% staff increase, 7% health increase, and we've kept the budget down below 4%.
I've had many discussions with Stan in terms of how all of the figures are working. And he agrees with me at some point they're gonna hit the brick wall.
Yep.
And how do we encourage folks to put more effort into it? I mean, if you look at our geographic region, the number of high schools that are within easy travel distance,
I hear you. I hear you.
and one building could serve all of the ones that the 5 are now doing. Very, very simple.
I don't disagree with you, George.
So my question is, how do we get the message to folks in Montpelier? Because it's going to have to be a statewide solution, because a lot of people are not going to be happy.
Well, I think they're trying to work on it. I don't know,
I
what
don't
kind
know
of
either.
progress they're making. And I just want to say this, at some of the meetings that we had, where we had parents come, there were parents upset that we weren't spending more money.
Well, yes.
It's because people.
Parents that with a kid in school, it's in their art program or their
Yeah.
music or
Right,
whatever it
right.
is, want the best for their kid, and I understand that.
That's right.
But,
So what the school board tries to do is balance that.
well, of
Right,
course.
we keep the taxpayers in mind. We're trying to keep the community, the kids in mind. That's our priority. I mean, that's why we're there, honestly.
Is there a question in the back?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we consolidate down to only 47 districts, is that gonna have any effect on what's happening?
There hasn't been, Cindy, there hasn't been any evidence that consolidation will save money. There hasn't been any. They haven't put out any figures that we're gonna save a lot of money by consolidating, because basically and in terms of closing schools, George, the legislature isn't gonna do that. They're not gonna say.
Of course not.
They want to push it back onto,
It's gonna be a school board. If they consolidate, say, I don't know how many school districts that exist now into one huge school board, somebody in that group is gonna say, well, this school over here, we need to, that's gotta go. And that board will vote on it, and the people in that school or associated with that school won't have enough votes to sway their opinion.
well,
That's what's gonna happen.
we'll see.
The
We'll see.
assumption, Cindy, is that by going from that many supervisory districts, you're theoretically going down to that number of superintendents.
Yeah, which
So,
isn't gonna
so
save that
that's
much money.
the assumption, because the superintendent's salary is pretty significant. So if you're gonna go from 100 and however many superintendents, and you're gonna cut it back to and you've seen they've been floating numbers from 22 to 40, whatever, that's where the savings, and like George said, it's going to be consolidated boards. So that's the theory behind it. But like Carol said, the published data, they have not, whether they're afraid to publish numbers or whatever, because there's a lot of politicism around this right now.
Sure.
That's the theory that everybody reading between the lines, that's what is being seen. But the question is what happens, and not to go down a whole other rabbit hole, but you've got the independent school issue that's still circulating. There's lawsuits in the works going for independent schools and how they should fit into the system, and all of that is still ongoing. So there's a lot of unknowns, and I don't think, sitting from an independent school perspective, I don't think you're going to see resolution even to those court cases before this is all supposed to theoretically kick in 29, because the court cases are going to be strung out for a very long time.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
Well, thank you. Good conversation. It's not easy to come and try and talk about this, because I know, I know what I know. I don't know it all. But our towns have always been very supportive of our schools, and there's been a vote no kind of movement in the past, and fortunately people care about the education of our kids, and even though there's less of them, they're just as important as they've always been. So hopefully you all get out and vote and know that the school board really did try to prepare a budget that is helps our kids, helps our communities, and there you have it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I got one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So, Carol, let me just run this by you one more time, with some numbers here.
Get my calculator.
Are there about 700 students in the district?
788, I believe.
Oh, 788.
Yeah, close to 800.
Well, if you do the math, and you're saying it costs $14,000 roughly per student, that's,
Make it 15, but whatever.
15 times 8 is easy, that's 60, 90, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, 90?
No. 15 and 8?
90, 120, 112.
120.
One point.
So the other thing,
the number doesn't add up. It's half.
yeah,
It's
you know
12 million
why?
It's
You know
$12
why it
million
doesn't? You know why it doesn't add up? Because
And you're asking
because
for
your
22.
per pupil cost does not include special education, does not include transportation, does not include. I don't believe it includes capital expenditures.
But it's
Why shouldn't it?
It's
the
legislature did that.
System of counting that all the districts. It's not that this district has their own formula. The state kind of says
The legislature did it.
the students don't count, or many students don't count as one. They count as more than one because of other socioeconomic factors or language issues, etc.
Well, it just,
real
it
number-
doesn't seem to add up. If you
The
take,
real
if you
number is
take
more like
112, 12 million.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
So as written in the budget statement in the 2026 annual report, it says the equalized pupil rate is $14,132.18, but that does not include transportation, vocational education, staff or technical center tuition, special education, and related service costs, which are funded separately by tuition. Just wanted to throw that out there.
And the equation, just to be clear, is set. That was a legislature thing.
Right.
It was established by the
It's not
legislature.
a local thing. The
It's
real
not a
number
local.
is like twice that. It's 28 something.
The real number is the whole of
Close
the
to 30.
22 million divided
Right.
into 788 students.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Flat out.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's what I think they ought to go with. But
the budget is what it costs to have kids in all of our buildings and all of our buildings running. And that includes transportation and whatever extraneous things that are out there. So for 700 students, we're spending 28,000 to keep it, to keep everything working is 28,000
It's,
per kid.
it ain't cheap.
However you want to look at it.
That's right.
Right.
That's what I was kind of getting at. The numbers don't add up to me, but, you know, I don't know. I've looked at the budget. It's,
And again, I don't intend
A lot of
my
people don't.
my thoughts are not in any way aimed to denigrate any of the work that you and the board are doing. I understand what you're doing very well, but somehow, people have got to understand that it's going to stop, and do we want to have it stop because we've planned and controlled it, or do we have it stop as a crash and everybody's saying, what, let's send them all home with a computer,
Yeah, well,
which is what we did in COVID.
Carol, and this is
I
a
don't think that worked very well from what I hear.
no, we're just starting to recover
Yeah.
from that, quite honestly.
this is a sensitive topic, so I'll be careful asking it. But has the board had discussions? I know it's going to be a union discussion as well on, and I'm not talking special education or support staff, but teacher versus student ratios and how low they're getting, because
Yeah, so-
they've drastically dipped from where they were.
The superintendent did do a presentation on that, and our class sizes actually are not they're within the ranges that the legislature set. In other words, that for, I think it's K6, it's a certain number of students. For, middle school, it's a certain number of students. We were in the average range for all of those, and same at the high school. The only place that the classes are smaller, and they are like AP classes where you have less kids. We have teachers who are taking extra periods to teach some of those AP classes where there's only 1 or 2 students. Like they're using their prep times to teach those classes. So, teachers they're working it. And our staff, like I said, we're not increasing staff except for this one position, which we really do feel like it'll be of benefit. And all the increases have been either staff increases or, like I said, the health insurance and insurances and all of the things that go along with that. So even our small schools, because they have multi-age classrooms, are not small classes. We're not talking about 7, 8 kids in a class. We're talking 12 to 15 kids at the elementary level. Well, it seems small, but it's kind of, it's
20 kids, good size class.
20 kids in a classroom, yeah. Yeah.
Any more
We do
questions?
at the high school, but not at the
All
elementary
right,
school.
I appreciate you coming down here.
Yeah, hey, thanks for your time. I know that took a lot of time. And, but I appreciate the input and the questions. And if you do have any specific questions, you can email me or, and I can get them. Sorry, I wasn't prepared with the budget in front
Well,
of me.
no, it probably wasn't something you're planning about, but it's just something that's been rolling around people's minds, and I've
I
been
hear
talking to
ya.
people about
Oh,
it.
my tax bill goes up too. I understand. I do. But I just happen to be a big advocate.
Mm.
I think this is important. I think education is probably the most important thing we do.
Are there industrial arts classes down there and stuff now?
Yeah, there's a wood shop, and yeah.
Kids learn how to change the spark plug and lawnmower, stuff like that, because I don't, what
I don't know if they're doing small engine, but I think they have that at Stafford.
Yeah, but everybody should be familiar with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right,
Do
All right,
they
I'm
have
all right.
spark
I'm
plugs
all right.
anymore? Do engines have spark plugs
I want to
anymore?
move along.
Yeah, well, some of them do.
They do computers.
Yeah.
Paul, you ready?
Thank you, Carol.
No, it was very informative.
Yeah, enlightening, yeah.
Going back to this time.
All right, why don't we,
I have a soft spot for the Mill River baseball field.
Yeah.
Played there a lot.
We want to keep
Kid.
it. Well, you know,
But
I'll take my stuff.
my
To the back
father
row.
built and designed that baseball field.
would you?
Yep, with his varsity baseball team, and their only equipment to do it was wheelbarrows and shovels.
Yeah, see, that's all the equipment.
Yeah. Good luck finding
And
somebody that want to do
volunteers.
that work then.
Always use volunteers.
You a weightlifting coach?
So I'm presenting
thank
to the
you.
select board.
Yes.
Okay.
Good night now.
Good night.
I'll make it short and brief. Mine might give you financial benefits, so you might like me more than the last one.
yeah,
I don't know for sure, no guarantees. So my name's Paul Carroccio. I've grown up here in Vermont. I've been a pilot, student, baseball player, as you just heard, and I've taken a liking to the Rutland Airport. For right or wrong, and Mike and I sit on a committee at the airport where we meet, I don't know, monthly I think it is. And Mike suggested I come to one of your meetings to talk about a few different things, and I won't take much time, but myself in particular has been pursuing building hangars at the airport for about 5-6 years. And I've been a pilot, I'm 48, I've been a pilot for about 32 years. And I learned how to fly at Rutland Airport as a high school kid. And I went off to college and got an engineering degree and came back here and built a family business that's afforded me the ability to continue to fly. And our business is real estate development. So once I piecemealed the idea of my stupid passion to fly along with real estate development, I thought maybe building hangars would be a good idea, which has been pretty challenging dealing with Vermont Department of Transportation, state of Vermont, and then just some of the bureaucratic processes of permitting.
You mean the government
Oh, yeah.
here to help
Yeah.
you is not real? Come on.
So Mike and I have been on this committee for, I don't know, well, Mike's been on for a long time. My dad, I think in effect, I've replaced my dad's position on it, and who is also a pilot, and he's 78. And I've been working through an idea with the V-Trans, with the committee, to develop the west side of, there's a chunk of area that you can see in this handout. The handout I provided is just a narrative. It shows the land area. It shows the places that the state has gotten permitted through Act 250. And
So the
now,
permits do exist,
well,
or at least preliminarily.
it's called a master plan.
Yeah.
And V-Trans hired some hotshot engineers, not from Vermont, to tell us where hangars could go. And ironically, they're not in the right place. So they're oversized, they're lacking infrastructure. And so we've had to actually go back and suggest that maybe we build smaller hangars so that we don't need sprinklers in the hangars where we don't have sprinkler water or sewer needs or public water. So there is a need for a modification in this plan I'm presenting you. But Mike had suggested that I come and just give you all a heads up of something that we're pursuing, and this particular piece of 4 hangars, which is in 2 buildings, is really just an attempt to test the waters of the process, because a hangar hasn't been built on Rutland Airport in over 50 years. Maybe Omia's hangar was inside of that, but we're talking 1976. And a long time. Let me rephrase that. There are hangars on this west side that have been built.
Yeah.
But they're Morton buildings. They're one-off buildings that some of them are not insulated. Some of them aren't even finished. And but from a substantial investment of digging at 8 or 10 foot footing and putting in significant
hangar,
aprons for commercial use, hasn't been built in a long time.
What you have now are just shelters.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, what we call general aviation, a person that has a small single-engine aircraft that is a hobbyist
might put in their hangar like a garage or a shelter. There's 5 or 6 of those that have been built in the last 40, 50 years, but a substantial commercial hangar where we generate revenue for the town, revenue for the FBO that operates the airport services, and then a payback to a developer like me for commercial use. So this is what we're talking about. And this scale is just under 20,000 square feet total on about an acre. And the airport, I don't know if you know, has put out a sign over at the terminal that says there's 16 acres at the airport to develop. And you have to call VTrans to find out about it. When you call, you get this master plan sent to you, or you can go to the website and it shows 20 different hangar locations along the east side, the west side, and around the main terminal. But in reality, most of those sites, the hangar concepts that they had designed in the site plans won't work, because the big hangars on the east side are over 12,000 square feet and would require sprinklers, which Matt Jakubowski says you don't have sprinkler water. So those kind of get shut down. Same thing on the west side, and then the same thing with the terminal state, what we call the state hangar, which is next to the terminal. It was built in 1940, 1950, somewhere in there. That building, if it was renovated, would need to be sprinklered, and there's no water to do it. So we're hindered by a lot of infrastructure needs at the airport. I wanted to come here and say, I think this is a big opportunity for the town of Clarendon to pick up not only tax revenue, but infrastructure potential paid for by all kinds of different grants and federal funding and state funding, and a way to improve your grand list without having the demands on your town's actual infrastructure. So if you could see for 50 years, and I understand with reservation that the industrial park may not have been the best experiment over time, but this may be a better way to look at improving your grand list, because you can tax hangars. And a hangar these days is not $100,000, it's $1 million. And so if you look at long-term, 20 or so hangars potentially to be built, plus maybe we're talking about on the committee, a new terminal and maybe a new apron. Those are all potentially taxable infrastructure pieces of real estate that don't need school bus pickups. Sorry. They don't require a road to be plowed. You go down the list of all the things
that it wouldn't need. Yeah.
Right. You have an asset in your community that is unlike many other assets in the rest of the state. There's only 10 actually owned, state-owned airports, and 10 airports plus Burlington, 11 in the state. And yours is the only one that's is commercially rated for actual flights to come in and out of. So it's very unique, other than Burlington, and it's in your town. So, big picture, that's something to chew on, right? What I've presented to you is just a very testing the waters example of a small 4-hangar, 1-acre development that I will have to come here to apply for a building permit.
Sure.
And we will have to go through all those processes. And then once I get that approved, I'll take it back to Act 250 to get the final sort of whatever they have to go through. And it is stormwater. It is all of the normal Act 250 stormwater town permit process. So just wanted to introduce myself, throw it out there so you know what's going on. I'm not yet ready to bring a design with a site plan, because we're still waiting for the boring samples of the soils and the survey of the site to be produced, so that then we can design a structure that works on it.
Paul, just a quick question. Is
Yeah.
this, so obviously the benefits to us are clear. Is this something that on other airports there's investors that get involved in this? Because clearly there's a return, like, for the holder of these, because I assume the spaces in the hangar are ultimately leased out, right? So it's a lease type system where you're going to come in and you're going to have a space leased. So is that a model at other airports where there's investment groups that set these up and use it as an investment type property.
So Vermont's probably the 50th worst state in the country to do hangar development. I've done a little research,
Surprise.
and it's primarily because most other states will actually provide the infrastructure as part of the airport program.
Okay.
So, for example, sewer, water, electricity, taxiways, aprons
What's needed? Yeah.
would be provided to the hangar at a cost of the city, the town, the county. In Vermont, VTrans actually has a lease that says you have to do all of that and pay for it all, but then we own it. And you have to maintain it. So it's a bit of a stupid project if you were to compare it to other states, but because I live here and my kids are in the great school system and I'm not leaving for a while, it diminishes the
The rate of return.
my wife saying that's a stupid idea. It diminishes it because we want to stay. But if I were to ultimately do it, I'd go to, say, Idaho, South Carolina,
Sure.
where they provide the incentive. And in fact, those states have a fund at the state level that's zero interest loan to develop hangars,
Yeah.
so that you can create commerce. Vermont will never probably do that. So, but to your point, our plan is to sell a couple and lease a couple. There are corporations, you can probably figure out which ones they are in Rutland County, that would like to own a hangar.
Sure.
And they fly their private planes in and out of here for their employees, but they don't keep the planes here because there
Because
are
they
no
don't have a place
hangars.
to keep it.
That's
Yeah.
right. And then the FBO Modern is a wonderful operator, but they don't have enough infrastructure to attract and keep their customers staying overnight. So you'll see jets come in, drop people off, and then go. They won't even get fuel because it's not even worth it. They just basically we call them turn and burn. If they would stay overnight and put the plane in a hangar where it wouldn't get ice on it, they would actually fuel up. And some of these planes take $100,000 of fuel.
Yeah.
So that's $6,000 to $8,000 in taxes. I know you're not getting that money, but
Sure.
but do the math.
It
Like,
comes into the economy. Yeah.
comes into the economy, and so, but those planes aren't staying because we don't have hangars to house them. And with things like Killington's proposed development and some of the resorts, Woodstock Inn, that do have people traveling by private aviation, they drop them off and they leave. You can go over the airport and watch this happen all day long.
Yep.
And we just don't have ramp space, we don't have hangar space, and to some extent we don't even have, Modern doesn't really improve their services because they're sort of on a thread there. They don't have great de-icing equipment. That's a long-term, Mike and our.
That's other stuff.
That's
Yeah.
other stuff.
That's down the road. Yeah.
But it does improve with things like, which I put in this proposal or a narrative, things like tax incremental financing districts, which I say, a little bit considered. We all met a few weeks ago as well. The industrial park was kind of challenge. I think TIFs work on larger scale things like a terminal building or a bigger scale project. It may not work on, but there are grants out there that we can get
to help towards this.
help. Right.
So the rule is then, just to clarify and go back to your statement at the beginning, so let's say that girder's sunk in the ground with concrete around it, it's VTransis as soon as it's there.
Actually, it's the building stays owned on state land, but
Okay.
but all the infrastructure around it, the aprons, the pavement, and aprons could be concrete, the utility trenches and all the utilities to it.
So the building itself would be owned by the
That-
company, but anything else
That's
you
right.
put in residual is VTrans.
That's right. Very unique in
Okay.
Vermont.
Yeah.
So to me, when I mentioned in this narrative, the last paragraph on the first page, it says, hey, it's kind of odd that a developer would have to pay for those things and then not own them. So using things like grants, there's a Northern Borders grant program that we've explored, that all of the grant stuff has to, and the reason I bring it to your attention is it has to go through the municipality
Okay.
as sort of the steward of the grant.
The application.
Yeah, and there's money matching. Like if I put up $500,000 towards a $2.5 million grant, we might be able to get the whole 2.5 to do things at the airport to build a better facility. So
that means that the town would sponsor the grant.
Essentially, that's what it
that's
sounds
right.
like.
So
Essentially,
I think
sponsor it.
it's to protect the project. I mean, there's a lot of bad actors out in the world, right?
Sure.
So it makes sense that the town would be, and a lot of, like, our regional development or regional commissions help administer that, so the towns don't have to take the burden on. So we're just exploring things like that, and I noted the northern borders. There's a particular grant that points towards timber use in the project so that it supports the timber industry in Vermont. It's a stretch.
Hey, but it works. I mean, I've seen grants like that, and sometimes they're just itching to give the money away.
So Burlington Airport got $5 million to build a new terminal. They got $5 million towards it because they made timber archways through the terminal. And we were asleep at the wheel, right? But it's a rolling grant, and no one has actually applied for it this year. So it's sort of one of the things that we're willing to work with
As
the town
a
on.
select board member, and of course, we had a long discussion with the school board and the taxes and all this kind of stuff that's going on. I think the benefit, there's two benefits actually. Within the next 4 years, I think it is, 5 years, we don't share taxes with Rutland on the industrial park. It's up, right? It's 5 years or 4 years?
2022.
30, I was going to say it's early 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so by doing this, that's gonna add more tax to our tax base here in town.
Sure.
Plus, that increase from the industrial park.
Yep.
I told you this anyway. I wanted you to speak to the full board so that they understand that there's benefits long term.
Sure.
I think if you could envision $20 million over 10 years of infrastructure being built that's taxable. I mean, I don't really care personally. I have a personal pet peeve. I don't like the idea of giving tax relief on projects, these housing projects that are built like West Rutland, $32 million, and we don't get to tax them. Well, that doesn't really work.
Question.
So,
If this infrastructure you're talking about, taxiways, aprons, etc., ends up being owned by V-Trans, how can we tax it?
you can't tax that. You can tax the hangar.
So he's talking about
Just
the buildings
just
tax.
the
the
one
whole
thing
thing.
is- Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could talk. It's funny. I had a great discussion with somebody at V-Trans today about why is I think it's the state road crew garages are on airport property,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yes.
and yet they're not paying a lease rate that all of us are paying for land lease over there. And I said, well, V-Trans should pay land lease to the state for that garage, and they sort of laughed at me. And I said, well, it's a little interesting that you're asking me to pay to lease a piece of land, and that division of our government is getting a free,
Yep.
But I mean, there's a lot of, and they're trying to clean that up. That may take a couple generations of who knows what. But it is, the hangar is taxed.
I got that, but the way you spoke earlier,
Well, it's like a house.
Right, of course,
Yeah.
but that money will come to the
Yes,
town.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my fellow aviators may not like me for saying this, but I think it's worthy of looking over there at what the values, when you talk about CLA and the school districts challenged by values, people own $1 million planes sitting in $50,000 hangars.
yep. But the way you spoke earlier left me with the impression that you were indicating that the infrastructure additions would be taxable.
No, just the hangar building, but still.
That's what I was
the
hearing.
building.
Yeah. No, I don't. That's a good point. We talked about that before, that it's really just the structure that sits on leased land. And
So these two structures are $1 million each, is that what you're telling me?
no, this project's probably in the $4 million zone.
That's the total for the whole project for the
Right.
building?
About $1 million in infrastructure,
Yeah.
3 in the construction.
Okay, so,
In today's prices.
Right, so it's not we're actually struggling at the state level of, people don't 50 years ago, you could build a hangar for $25,000, a small hangar. So people would do that, and they'd own an airplane for 50 to 100,000. They might even not even tell their wives about it. So, but today you have to finance the. I mean, most people that are owning these infrastructure or these buildings and airplanes are financing them, and so the state land lease doesn't allow for financing. So we have to get over that hurdle, which I'm working on. So it's almost like they're preventing development by virtue of saying, if you don't want to put out $4 million in cash, you can't build that hangar, because the bank says the land lease says the state can take the land and the building anytime they want. So we're working through that piece, but that worked 50 years ago. Today it doesn't work. But at the same point, if there's 20 if you look at the state's master plan, it's conceivable that there's $50 million in hangar potential at Rutland Airport, which your grand list, that's 25% of your grand list increase. So fundamentally, if you added that real estate without having the cost to your infrastructure in your municipal budget, right, you could effectively reduce your town mill rate by 10 or 20%. It's a really, the next town over doesn't have an airport.
Yeah.
Untapped potential.
Right. I mean, you do have. Let's talk about the negatives, right? If you do have a successful airport, you have noise, which, if you read across the country, it's an issue.
So if I live another 20 years, I'm going to see this $50 million addition.
I would give it 50 years.
Probably
I mean,
not
I
gonna
just the
make
pace of me either.
It's
But
no different than a train. Look at the tracks we got through town.
Well, that's what I was
And
gonna
then
say.
noise. We got 2 runs in town. of
Well,
train
seeing
tracks.
how the jets fly like directly over our house, some of them I can read the tail numbers on.
Yeah. And the evolution of, I mean, I'm not going to say this is happening in 50 years, but the evolution of electric propulsion is coming. And the concept of commuting, this is what Beta is doing, and I don't know if you've heard of Beta out of Burlington,
Yeah, I
but
have.
the concept is a 90-minute flight by electric propulsion, which would be New York City to here. And they're pretty quiet. They're a lot different than a Jet A diesel fuel thrust.
That airfield is already established. So people that live over there now, they understand the noise and all this kind of stuff. I think the benefit was their taxes will go down. We just put some things in town here that'll make money for the town. What did you think about that when we had that conversation, Heidi? I know that you weren't in favor of it, but then after you,
Clarify, I
We were
wasn't
not in
in
favor of the TIF.
I wasn't in favor of a TIF district.
Right.
Because that was what started the conversation. So there's a big difference between being in favor of building more infrastructure at the airport versus having the town approve a TIF district to finance the project.
I was just trying to get you started.
You're trying to get me going, weren't you? Yeah.
And I agree with that. I don't think. I mean, I think TIF is dangerous for a town. Fundamentally, it's particularly a small town. I'm not sure.
Bottom line, Heidi?
Oh, I think that any growth we can have at the airport is going to be good growth. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to affect the economy of the whole area. So.
And you think you could rent or sell those hangars? Do you think the commercial traffic is there? I mean, Omea moved out to Cincinnati. So are they still flying in and out of Rutland?
They are. They keep a couple planes in that hangar. Their
Yeah.
chief pilot is here. He's probably going to retire in the next 5 to 10 years, but he manages he manages their fleet. That's an interesting example. Omea still has a pretty big operation north of town, north
yeah.
of Rutland, and they do check in on it, but they're a world corporation. Let's use another example. Casella is invested in this community. They just bought the St. Joe's campus to make a
Oh, I know all
continued
about it.
education.
They've knocked the dorms down and everything.
Right, so they're invested, their heritage is here. They're an example of one entity that is very interested in owning one of these hangars. they don't really want to spend the energy to build it because they're doing other things. But they actually move a plane from Danbury, Connecticut weekly here. It costs about $5,000 in fuel to move it to Rutland, to pick up executives or vendors or customers and then take them around New England. That's just one of, you could come up with a dozen pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I do think the main user is going to be a private aviator that has moved to Vermont and has decided this is where they want to be, but they need to go somewhere to either work or take their family. And then there's another piece is modern. They could use I don't know, another 10 hangars. The wait list for hangar space is enormous. And like I said, if you went online to shop for even the basic of basic planes today, a trainer Cessna 172 is $300,000. So are you going to park it on the ramp anymore? No. And then they go up. I mean, it's crazy how costly. I mean, it makes sense. The cars are expensive, planes are expensive, houses are expensive, everything's expensive.
Like the one in Middlebury? There's an individual up there in Middlebury, I understand?
Sorry.
Middlebury Airport.
Yeah, they're building hangars
Yeah.
along middle. I mean, that's a good example. People want to fly in there for their homes and their college students and whatnot. So this was just a preliminary, introduce myself. I'll come back with more solid plans.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good job.
Yep.
All right, moving right along. Any public comments?
I have a question about the highway grant that never got executed.
Which one?
Which one?
Yeah.
You guys don't remember? It's like
Yes, I do.
$30,000?
Yes, I do.
What's that?
It was 14,500
Cash wasn't
tier.
here that
It was tier grant.
Right.
And after getting into it and stuff, by redoing that road, and there's a lot of obstacles there to tear it down, and there's not enough room because of landowners on ditching and stuff like that. So we decided that it's gonna be a minimum maintenance on a ditch line and stuff like that. There is one resident up there, partway up the hill, that we are gonna just replace a culvert that needs to be set back and stuff to help. The other thing was, you have Green Mountain power poles in the ditch. There's all kinds of different things.
Well, you weren't here that night, and so everybody was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean we didn't execute this grant? So,
Did that also include the structure at the bottom
No,
of the hill?
that's
That was
totally separate.
That was separate. Okay, I couldn't remember.
Totally separate, and we're gonna get into that one too.
Question,
Do we have a grant for that structure?
No.
No. Okay.
Did you ask?
Pay for it. Go ahead, Kim.
what happened with that bridge down by Wilder's? I mean, it's failed inspection, how many years now? Is there any,
Actually, they passed that bridge and they want to replace the one on Freezer Road, and that's what threw me a red flag. And I said, well, you need to do something to that bridge at Wilder's.
That's the one on the turn right before you go right after the
You know,
turn.
you're turning it before 133.
Yeah.
And my thought is, talk to, I think Amia owns the land just south of it.
Straighten it out.
Work on another bridge set there next to it and have it straight. And that way they could still, you could still use that bridge and nothing be shut down during construction.
so we have no repair for that bridge yet? No
Pardon me?
idea?
Hey.
We have no idea when they might fix that bridge?
Oh, you ain't gonna see that 8-10 years.
It fails every year.
Yeah, except they passed it this year.
We invested in guardrails on one side of it. Which feels a lot better going around there when you're plowing.
but you're not gonna fall into the creek?
All right, moving right along. Discussion of the 250th anniversary celebration.
That's me. Well, as you know, the nation's got the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence this July. The Vermont 250 Commission was developed, started in 2016, started gearing up for that. And so last fall, they did the reenactment of the capture of Fort Ticonderoga, Knox's cannon, moving the cannons from Ticonderoga to Boston, so on and so forth. And it's a 2-year process, 2 year of events. So we we had a meeting in January, and the speaker, who happens to be commissioner, we were thinking about an idea that Clarendon could do, and the board brought it up 2-3 months ago about doing something. And Colonel Waite, who's buried in Pankowski's field, was buried there, died and buried September 1776, which happens to be the 250th anniversary this September. So we're up and running. We're going to have a celebration there, ceremony September 20th. It's a Sunday, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, depending on what we have involved. So far we've got Jonas Spivak is involved. He's the commissioner. The Corps, the Independent Corps, Ranger Corps is going to be there. Been in touch with the DAR, the SAR. They'll be planning. We're throwing things out. We don't have an order of service yet, but there'll be a what do you call it? Musket salute. Wreath ceremony, speakers. We have a wealth of information on Colonel Waite, so Bob's going to put a documentary together. We're going to do a one on that site, specifically the history of that site. Bob's going to reach out in his ancestry wizardry and locate descendants of Colonel Waite, and our intent is to have some of them there. So that's in the works. The Pankowskis are on board with having that happen there. We've discussed with Cash, because Cash mows the field, and we don't want high grass there, and Cash doesn't want his grass out. Some of these events have been drawing numerous people. So we'll probably start advertising it in April. So we haven't got everything all set, but that's taken off.
Cool. That sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to that. If you need any help, let me know.
Yep. Nice. Thank you.
One Marine to another. Signing of a municipal impact questionnaire for site plan. You want to read that? Ron?
Yeah, so everything is all in order for it by the looks. And we are asking for Mike to sign it on behalf of the board, and I will make that a motion.
Any further discussion? Are you hearing none? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Put that beauty over here. Discussion of municipal planning grant timeline.
So I recently met with Maggie O'Brien, and she's the lead on using our municipal planning grant. We were awarded to update our local hazard mitigation plan, and an official agreement will be brought to the board sometime in August. The timeline, she has a 2-year time frame to develop plans for 6 different towns. She was not able to get help with that. It's going to be just her doing it. So this is going to go through probably early 2027. What it means is that there's going to be a period of time of maybe 6 months where Clarendon will not have an active plan. She says that shouldn't have any negative impacts. It's kind of common for that to happen. So I have the scope of work for you to look at. when you get a chance, doesn't have to be tonight, and we can discuss it another time. She just wants to make sure that the board understands the timeline and the outline procedures she has.
Does part of that go through the planning commission before it gets to us, or is that one totally on our side? I can't remember.
This one's totally on our side.
Okay, so this doesn't go,
Believe,
this
yeah.
doesn't go through the planning commission first?
But we can
Okay.
have copies of this information sent to the planning commission.
I could,
Well,
if it was need be,
I
but
was
I
gonna
don't
say, it's
think,
not,
I think
if
it's
it's
just.
not them, it's not needed.
No,
just the
but they
select
can weigh
board.
Um,
in on.
Well, everybody
This
gets
is all-
surveyed.
But I believe this is all state mandated and stuff, right? This
It is,
this
so-
something that's kind of being forced
So,
down our throats.
as a person who's been through it now 3 times, be prepared to get the red ink out, and we gutted it last time. It has everything under the sun. It's got the municipal wanting you to sign the contract for your equipment to go other places. It's got all that stuff in it, and we had to literally get out the red ink and just start. And it took it came down, and then they try to, like what we've run into with regional on other things, they try to push it as fast as they can, and we've had to delay it and say no, we're gonna take another month, and we're gonna actually make this be what we want it to be. Yeah. So just everybody going into it, we probably need to have that in the back of our minds that it's gonna be something that we're going to want to be somewhat firm on. So.
All right. Discussion of MERP mini grant use.
Yes, we have about $4,000 left in this grant money, and I met with Sean Beatty. He's a planner for Rutland Regional Planning Commission. So the best qualifying idea we came up with was to replace the 2 front doors of the town hall because they are not energy efficient and they're leaking cold air. We even have the sign up for people to please shut it tight when they come in. And secondly, we'd love if we could to make them ADA compliant. I had Royal Group come in last Thursday and they took some measurements. They're going to come up with a quote of what it would cost to replace the doors. Of course, they wouldn't be the fancy push button entries. Those are extremely costly. He did mention that our little entrance ramps are not at all compliant. So if we wanted to do that, it would take either cement work or a contractor to build out some kind of a sloped ramp to make sure those entrances are ADA compliant. And how far this 4,000 will go, I don't know. I mean, but even if we could get 1 door replaced, it's a start.
With Royal, it's not going to go very far.
That's what I thought, and I'm open to some other
I was gonna say.
options that anybody can give me of where to look for some other bids.
We can have some conversation about that. And they told you a push button system would be
Very costly.
A push button like lock, a keypad lock.
No, you know where the handicap, they push
Oh,
the.
okay. I thought you were talking about like a very.
System.
I thought you were talking about a very phone system where you buzz people in.
No,
okay.
no.
All right, because I'm like, those are not that expensive. I don't know what they're telling you.
That'd be the time to research that deck out there too.
But we do have to look into it fairly soon if we want to use this grant money. I've got to look at, I didn't write down the date that money expires, but I think it's in the next few months range.
I think we've got a good contractor connection that probably can point us in a good direction.
Great. Sounds great.
Somebody new in town?
Somebody new.
You're gonna discuss that?
Showed up here.
I think I can just tell you that nothing against Royal at all. It's just
They
that
are
Royal
pricey.
is very
Yep.
pricey.
Okay. You're probably going to get a more commercial look from them as opposed to if you went with somebody, you might get a more door that fits the building.
Something that might fit the building.
Sounds
better.
great.
Yeah.
Historical building?
It is actually still.
That's what it is.
Doesn't that have to also come into?
Well, those exterior doors are already a standard commercial door. It'd be different if we were looking at these interior doors.
Sounds good, Kim.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll start working on that.
Yep.
All right, discussion of obtaining painting bids for both the interior of the town hall and the exterior of the town hall entirely, or two sides with the most sun.
So as far as the exterior goes, it was mentioned during our budget workshop that maybe you would look to me to get some quotes on what it would cost. Just to see, to paint the whole thing or to paint just the two sides that get the most sun. So I just wanted to get an official affirmation that you wanted me to really do that at this point.
I personally think that reaching out to a painting company for both, have them in their bid, separate it
Right.
so that it is a separate price.
For inside
And
and
I'm
outside.
not, yes, and I'm not saying that, I'm sorry, I'm the historical guy on the building, that vinyl siding makes me shiver. But anyway, we're not going down that discussion for right now. But what I would say is at least we'll have some, because we already have some vinyl siding numbers, at least one or two.
Oh, one of them's outrageous.
One of them was outrageous and the other one was a little bit more reasonable.
You've got a tall building here.
But at least we would get updated numbers because we haven't painted a side of this building in
A while.
at least 10 years.
Oh,
At least.
Yeah.
well, the
Art,
last time
Art
we-
Knox was on the board.
Yeah, the last time we did that, we just did this side and the back.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, Artie Knox was still here. So I personally would say let's get some bids. And I agree. I think we even already have the paint for the inside. So it's
do.
just the labor. It's just the labor for in here. And I'd see if we can get some prices.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it's important to maintain as much as we can of maintenance on buildings.
Well, and you've got funding in the budget right now
Yeah.
before July 1 that can be used, and you're going to have the new budget again. So I think that just see what we got, because I don't think anybody, first off, I think you can probably speak to this, we're too late. If we were going to vinyl side it, you're not getting it done this year now because everything's booked out for 26 already. So, and we can't just keep pushing maintenance, so
Well, I think we should proceed ahead with getting those kinds of
get some
bids.
prices.
I think, I think I think you're gonna be surprised what that number's gonna be for paint job, but.
Potentially.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's gonna
Potentially.
be, I'm not gonna say it's rake up there with a vinyl siding job.
Sure.
But I think it's gonna be significant.
And I think the last sides that were done,
for these, this one in the back.
I would look that up because I thought they did the north side and they did the east side.
Oh, that was the first sides that we did.
So that was more than 10 years ago. That was like,
And then the guy did this side in the back, and then he did some work down by the garage. I can't remember what it was. But that was,
We should be able to look it up. There's
Yeah.
got to be a file
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'll see what I can find.
Doesn't matter. But I think you're going to be looking at the sun, like you said, the sun sides are what got to be done first. So
Well, it's certainly an item we don't want to brush off.
brush on it.
gets us time to move on.
yeah,
All right, so you're gonna start getting some
Yeah,
information.
I can do
then
that.
Maybe if we get some, we could talk about it next meeting and post, look for somebody who wants to do the work.
Okay.
Old business, update on Lister tax maps.
Okay, well, it rains and pours. A couple weeks ago, I think maybe we told you we've got 2 people who came forward finally after months. We haven't settled. We're working with one, Pownell, Vermont. I think they're all Pownell. And they offer both the services, Putney, the services of paper, traditional paper or digital. So we're working through that. We haven't decided which one we want to propose to the select board yet. I don't think, have we?
No.
No.
We just got a second quote this morning. So.
Right, we just got the second quote this morning. the digital offers some advantages. Every month it gets updated. Whereas we've got 29 updates from the last 3 years, waiting for NIMRIC to update the paper, update. Then the paper map, we bought new maps in 22. We haven't had any new maps since then. So to update the paper maps is that costs every year or every 2 years. The digital comes with a package, and that package is the map is updated every 2 years, every month. Once it goes, one of the other benefits of the digital is anybody can access the tax map from their real estate office, from their home. They don't have to come in here. And so we're working through some fine points with the people offering the digital map, and then once we decide what one we'd like to go with, we'll present those two bids to the town.
Sounds good.
That would be something that could be, if it was a digital map, that could be something on our webpage, couldn't it?
Right, that's the
That's
people.
what I was speaking to Jeff,
Question.
over here in the corner, about how.
Yeah, you'd have a link on our website.
The town
map.
website would have
Right
a
on
link
there.
to the map.
Yeah.
George? How much requests or usage are the paper maps getting from outside people, realtors, whatever?
Well, I can't answer that because we've got 2 copies and one's out there
Oh, that's true.
laminated, and we're only here,
Yep.
a few hours a week.
That to me, in our digital world that we're all getting more and more involved in, I think that it seems to me that there might be some real interest in pursuing the digital in some way.
We get the digital map July 1st, you have the sale on July 2nd, the map's all dated.
Paper maps out
The
there.
paper map's all
I
dated.
understand that, that's what I'm getting at.
So, I mean, the other thing is, they also, are more, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but you will.
Only if you're wrong.
Pardon?
Only if you're wrong.
They're more, aggressive in making sure the statewide map, VCGI map, is up to date. Whereas, we went a period of time, I think the entries were finally put in December, but they're more aggressive in making sure that the statewide map is up to date, so people.
Yep.
Kevin's saying the updates that went into the year-end 22 map finally got to the state at the end of 25 for the state's map.
Very efficient process.
So,
And we're not the ones who submit it.
No. I'm
No.
not saying on your end.
I mean,
But it took 3 years.
right, so, well, like with the paper map, we get it here, and we have a sale in 2 days, name changes, whatever, you have a subdivision, you have boundary changes, whatever, it's
done.
done, it's already all dated.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing them. Yeah.
All right, update on railroad crossing light inquiry.
You want this read for the record?
Please.
Okay. So we have an update on the railroad crossing, which is this crossing over here was what we were focused on Walker Mountain Road here by the bridge. So letters were sent out, just to recap, in November of 2025 to our delegation and to the Vermont rail system. This is an outline as a report of what has happened since. Joe Flynn, the Secretary of the Vermont Agency of Transportation, conferred with the Rail Division, and the following is what the response to the town is. The state has 422 public rail crossing. Walker Mountain has been ranked at 103 on their list of priorities out of the 422, which means that 102 crossings are in line before us for upgrade. Each crossing has a score, which they use to rank it. This year's crossing score for Walker Mountain was 55, which is down from 60 in 2023. There is one quadrant that has some brush that needs to be cleared out, but it's not too bad, and it says we will contact the railroad to clear that out. And if you notice, they did that. They actually cut the brush on the east side. Lights would absolutely increase the score, but they are extremely expensive, and the cost is between $800,000 and $1 million to add lights to this crossing. We do not have this crossing in our current program. James Ehlers, who is the chief of staff to the lieutenant governor, followed up saying that Secretary Flynn, although supportive of funding these projects, does not see them moving forward because the funds otherwise intended for AOT are not being diverted to, are being diverted to the education fund. This also compounded by the overall decrease in federal funding. In the interim, perhaps the select board would want to send a letter to the delegation to endorse with endorsement of interested senators. So basically, we can keep throwing paper at it if we want to, but they're not going to do any more than clean some brush that they did last.
I will say I find fault with the decrease in federal funding, seeing as how they've just applied for a $75 billion grant from the federal government. And 2 more trains they're looking for the federal government to run back and forth here from New York on the new Amtrak trail that they're planning on putting in. So I don't know where their decreased funding came from.
I don't disagree with you, Cindy, but that's for the record, that's the response.
I got it.
The only progress that'll be made is pushing Amtrak down through here, which.
That's right. And I also will
noise and
say,
speed.
not to loop back to education again, but the state is dipping from everywhere to try to fund education to offset, and that this is where one of the areas they're dipping. So
But this education is for education on the railroad tracks.
no, this education, the transportation fund got raided last year to buy down property taxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's what the governor has proposed again this year, to raid funds to buy down property taxes again, which is why when Carol was here, she said right now we're at 8%. If the governor gets it through and they buy it down, he may buy it back down to 3%.
I know they're doing a lot of work on the railroads, but
So, but that's what they're doing. They're raiding all the funds.
All right.
Unless Amtrak goes in.
If Amtrak goes in, maybe.
There'll be lights there then.
Then the feds
will
will
be
put lights in.
500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Train runs over somebody, it'll be
Yeah.
I seen that when I was a kid back to my house. A school bus hit by a train.
Yuck.
Connie, you got anything?
I just have a
You
little
just skipped the treasurer.
note. The 23rd of February, I will not be attending at the meeting, and I won't be at the town meeting on Monday either. So I'm going to be out of town.
All right. Heidi, did you have?
I do have something.
Oh.
So, in finishing setup for Vision Service Plan, as that benefit that you folks discussed during budget time, I do need guidance for the length of contract you want to go with. So there's 2 options. A 2-year contract or a 4-year contract, and it locks in the pricing that was proposed during budget time for Vision. Because, I mean, my recommendation, because it locks in that price, would be the 4-year, but that's up to you.
If it gets locked in at the 4-year, and after 4 years, are we going to see
Even more of an increase?
jump? Or is it, this is just a question I'm throwing out there, is it worth going the 2 years and taking the chance that, or we take the bite after 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid question, but
That's my only question. I don't.
The only thing that I would think of is, unlike, I realize they are a healthcare, but unlike what we're seeing with health, I would think they would forecast better for you what their increases are going to be than like Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Right.
But that's a speculation.
Historically, dental and vision tend to not have huge increases anyways from year to year.
Right.
So.
I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion because technically I'm going on it, so I'm not. the rest of the board's got to decide because it benefits me. So
I've got no problem with a 4-year contract. I mean, that's.
Want to make a motion?
Well, all right, I'll make a motion that we go sign with a 4-year contract then.
You said a motion, I couldn't quite hear you.
I'll make a motion that we go with a 4-year contract.
Oh, sure.
Anybody want to second that?
Sure, I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion?
for the record, I'm recusing.
All right, so it's me, George, and Donnie.
Don, yeah.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Done. Bob, you or Kevin have anything else? Nothing more?
Nothing more from me.
My goodness. Rob, have any more concerns?
No, I just think that
Excuse me.
there's a lot of information that got thrown out tonight when it comes to education, and I really just hope that our voters do take the time to really look at
Consider.
all sides of everything that's going on, and
I agree with you.
take a very close look. George's statement that the legislature does have to do something is certainly no secret, because in many ways they got us into the mess and they got to get us out of it. But that, as you refer to it, that wall is coming,
Yes.
and everybody knows it's coming.
That's how hard it is.
And the question is, how are you going to handle it before we get there? So
That's the question.
I just hope everybody takes time, and I realize that this number ultimately comes down from the state, but I don't know how many of our residents can afford an 8% tax increase.
Yeah, that's
and I
exactly
realized
correct.
that there was
The district's annual report is now available on their website. I just wanted to throw that out since you're talking about it as well.
okay, so the report's online. And I realized that there was a statement made about valuing education and the willingness to pay to value education. I don't think anybody in this room doesn't value education, but what everybody wants to know is what we're getting for our money.
Exactly.
And 8% of an increase is an awful lot of money to ask a taxpayer. And when you've what.
On that note, Bob, sorry, I mean, Bob, just, you know, when you're rating everybody else, you've already hit the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
already
you're
hit
just
the-
masking it
Sure.
over
You've
at
already
this
hit
point.
the wall
Sure.
when you're rating everybody else.
And I mean, I think everybody, if you take your tax bill and say, and increase it by 8%, there's gonna be a lot of people in this town that's gonna scare. And I especially feel for those people who are living paycheck to paycheck. I feel for those people who come in here and very carefully, literally in some cases, count out the pennies. When's it gonna stop? That's all we gotta say.
I want to thank Paul for coming down here, explaining the pros and cons of the airport. As far as the education part was concerned, I agree with you, Rob. I think it's going to be interesting ballot count in March, and I can certainly think that there's going to be a reballot, a recount, because I think that tax, their petition is a hard thing to read, brings you to tears. 8%, Jesus Christ. And I'm on a fixed income, so I think I know what you're saying, Rob. George?
Yes, I've got a brief thing that I'll try to keep it under an hour.
That would be brief for you, George.
A few days ago, something had occurred that got me thinking about the responsibilities of the clerk of the board. And I found a definition from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And one of the items that are there is making sure that the accountability and transparency that is always in vogue in our actions. And why I bring that up is a few days ago, the chair called or emailed each of us about a housekeeping matter. And when I say housekeeping matter, it's an item that does not impact anything of policy that we talk about, does not impact anything about the financial issues that we deal with. It's just a matter of keeping things running smoothly through as we go day to day. So we were asked to remove somebody from the town report, which we all talked about and said, sure, that's not anything that's going to impact the town in any serious way. But as I looked at my definition, it seems to me when we do those kinds of things that we should have some kind of a record versus right now there's a record of that because everybody was supposed to send an email to Kim. So there is documentation. But in case we should have something more in terms of documentations on an item such as that, I put together a little something that I'll pass around for you guys to look at, and you'll understand who wanted to be withdrawn from the town report and why I think that we ought to have a document that we can have in a file somewhere, so if there's ever a question of the discussions we had.
I think that this should be read out loud in this
Sure.
open meeting.
Oh, well, Robert's got a good reading voice.
Okay. So select board action and amendment to the fiscal year 26 town report. The select board has reviewed a request from Art Menard to amend the fiscal year 26 select board report as published by the town of Clarendon annual town report. Mr. Menard requested that his name and any recognition of his years of service on the town of Clarendon select board be removed from the report. The select board has further reviewed this request and by unanimous agreement agrees to the requested amendment. All select board members consent to this action, and you have just a spot for us to sign below. And we did do this, and I will go ahead and make a motion that we ratify the action by signing this document.
Second.
All right, seconded by George.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
What else can I say? I mean, the education,
You
oh my God.
gotta call the vote.
Oh, yeah, all those in favor of the vote, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Until football season's over.
Yeah, and what happened to your team?
The Giants?
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
The Jets.
is there's motion made, seconded, all those in favor of the motion? Say aye.